It was the mid-1990s. I wasn't in a very good place. I was in a very unhappy marriage that I'd gone into for all the wrong reasons. I was in a job that was like Groundhog Day. Even though I enjoyed it, to a certain extent, every day was the same and there was nothing much I could do to change it. I got myself into the mindset that I was going to do that job until I retired, which was probably about 30 years away at the time. And that was me, a hamster on a wheel. And then something happened to me. I became aware that counselling was available. And I realised that I'd never spoken to anybody really about my past upbringing in a strict church and the effect that it had on me. So I managed to access some counselling and I realised that talking therapy was really helping me. And it did change my life. Because after less than a year, I found the strength to leave the relationship that I was in, but I stayed in the job. Fortunately, because 6 months later, I was offered the opportunity to go into training and development, helping other people, training other people to do the job that I'd done for the past 17 years. And I was good at it and enjoyed it. And I got a whole new lease of life. But possibly none of that would have happened if it hadn't been for the counselling and the coaching and the accountability. Because every time I went to see my counsellor, I went away with actions. And every time I went back to see my counsellor, I had completed the actions that we'd agreed. And that for me is the relationship between a coach or a counsellor and a client. So, yeah, I had a much happier life as a result of the counselling. I got rid of all the rubbish that was going around my mind. And people have said to me over the years, Graham, you should coach people, you should help people. And I've done a lot of training. I'm a professional speaker, do a lot of that. And then something happened this year, in fact. Somebody approached me and said that they needed my help. Now, this was a gentleman who was in his early 50s. He'd been made redundant from his job during the pandemic, and he'd pretty much given up. He thought, you know what, might be the end for me. I had a few conversations with him. I said, what would you actually really like to be doing? And he said, I'd like to be working for a charity, doing something good, doing maybe fundraising for a charity or something like that. I said, what other goals might you have? He said, I've got a little bit overweight. He said, I'm about 17 stone. He said, I could do with losing some weight. I said, what else would you like to do? And he said, I'm a member of my church. He said, I've always fancied being a lay reader in the church. So I said, well, okay, let's put some strategies in place to make this happen. I'm delighted for him because after about 4 months of chatting once a week, we managed to get him to a place where he's got a job that he actually enjoys. He's in the selection process now to be a lay reader for the Anglican Church, and he's lost 24 pounds in weight. Because he had some accountability, because he had somebody who understood where he was. So I'm now looking to work with particularly middle-aged men who think they can't get any further, who think their life might be over because of circumstances. So I'm Graham Frost. I have lived experience of this, and I love to help other people become unstuck from wherever they might think they're stuck.